It seems so strange to me that a subject like the one from yesterday's episode could set people off the way that it did. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into football and or baseball. I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. I had the audacity to put forth the outrageous notion that the Penguins will be pursuing a return to the Stanley Cup playoffs this coming season. I didn't say they'll make it. I certainly didn't say they'll contend if they were to get there. What I said, and you can go back and play it again if you don't believe me, was that that's going to be their aim. How crazy! How can you say things like that? Tank for Gavin McKenna, something lottery pick. This is a terrible team that's gotten even worse. Except that this wasn't a terrible team this past season, and it certainly didn't finish terribly. Once some areas improved, and once a couple of the younger kids came up and offered a jolt of energy. And two, the team absolutely did not take any step backward this summer. Not large, not small, not at all. But I'm also compelled to point out that not everybody reacted this way. Some looked at the current roster and just said, okay, well, we see your point. We see what the actual transactions were instead of what such and such random Canadian site told you several months ago was going to happen. You've looked at the ones that actually did happen. You've looked at the roster and seen that pretty much all of the players that were expected to be gone are still here. Notably, Brian Rust and Ricard Raquel. And it's almost like there's a group of people that's just taken a little bit too long to recalibrate with actual information. But again, there are those who just rationally responded and said, all right, you can have your 10-5-2 finish. You can have your missing the playoffs by 11 points from a team that wasted 12 of those points in overtimes and shootouts. And you can have that almost all of the better players from the most recent team are back. Here's what you can't have, came the sharpest of our shooters in our little community here. You can't have that this left defense is any good. And you want to know something? You got me there. You really do. I don't like where this left defense is. I don't know how anybody could like where this left defense is, even if you, as I do, believe in Owen Pickering. It would take something of a leap for anybody outside the Graves family to believe that Ryan Graves can be that guy. Even if you're of the mind that the Mike Sullivan system that imposed upon all defensemen, that they've got to pinch, that they've got to attack, that they've not got to just trail the attack, they've got to lead the attack when they can, and that was never part of Graves' arsenal. Even if you believe that Graves will somehow benefit more than anybody else from having Dan Muse as head coach, it's still no picnic to think about Graves as being your number 2 left-handed defenseman. And I'll say exactly the same about Alexander Alexeyev and even Ryan Shea, who's had his moments in Pittsburgh, but he's also struggled in Pittsburgh. That is not a left-handed defense group that should be contributing to any team getting to the playoffs. Now, I say this, and I look at the Penguins' current cap space, which, incidentally, for those of you who are new to hockey, unlike the NFL, in the NHL, teams just spend every penny. They don't worry about $4 or $5 million in walking around money. You can do that. But you're most likely going to be the kind of team that expects to be loading up at the deadline, and the Penguins won't be fitting into that category. They're not going to be going out and getting rentals in mid-season. So there's $13 million. I'm actually going to read you the whole figure. It's $13,053,571. that can buy you, and I don't even mean just through free agency, I mean through trades, whatever, at least one really good left-handed defenseman, and that can occur without sacrificing anything into the future. You can do that kind of deal just by getting on the horn with teams that are looking to clear out cap space. And you can mitigate any risk to the future by making sure that it's somebody who's either on an expiring contract or at the most has 2 years remaining. Or, hear me out on this, you can trade the right-handed defenseman that you don't want, who's your highest paid player, for somebody else's left-handed defenseman who's making a similar amount of cash, and then you don't even have to worry about any kind of cap space issues because you're still going to have your $13 million or whatever left over. Repeating this for effect and into infinity, there is no benefit in the National Hockey League to hanging on to cap space, unlike the NFL once more. There's no carryover effect. You can't carry over savings from one year to the next. It's use it or lose it. So go ahead and use it. Get that left-handed defenseman. It's not going to stop you from doing anything that you want to do, short-term or long-term. When we come back, J1Q. Today's J1Q comes from Ethan. Really good one, too. DK, I've been looking over recent draft picks. Correct me if I'm wrong, but since 2020, only 2 players selected by the Penguins have made it onto the NHL roster, Owen Pickering and Yoel Blomqvist. As you mentioned in a recent episode, Pickering was only called up due to a perfect storm of injuries and illness, and I understand that development takes time, but my question is, why has the Penguins draft pipeline produced so few NHL-ready players over these past 5 years? Well, to start here, Ethan, yes, you're correct. There's 2 players who've come out of those classes and have made it onto the NHL roster. Now, you ask a why question, or how could this happen? There's a really easy answer for that. Let's go back to the 2020 draft. Blomqvist has made it. Blomqvist was the 52nd overall pick in that draft. The rest of that draft saw the Penguins take players from the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds. Blomqvist was a 2nd rounder. Go to 2021. The top pick was Tristan Brose, who's going to make it this year. He was a 2nd rounder. The other 4 picks were a 5th rounder and 3 7th rounders. This isn't an accident. This is the price that you pay for the type of roster building that Jim Rutherford did. He wasn't responsible for all of these picks being lost. Ron Hextall gave away some as well. You make it to 2022, there's Pickering, 1st-round pick, actual 1st-round pick. The 4th rounder, but the next pick in that draft was Sergei Murashov, who's going to get a chance here and is this organization's top goaltending prospect. From there, 5th round and 2 6th-rounders. 2023, top pick, 14th overall, highest pick in years, Braden Yeager. What happens to Yeager? Yeager gets traded to Winnipeg for Rutger McGroarty. McGroarty has made it, obviously, to the NHL. Yeager, who's a year younger, to be fair, still hasn't made it to Winnipeg, although he was called up by the Jets for their taxi squad in the playoffs. But it's not like nothing came of that pick. In that class as well, the rest of it was a 3rd rounder, a 5th rounder, a 6th rounder, and 2 7th rounders. The 3rd rounder, Emil Pianiniemi, is a very promising young defenseman in Finland, but obviously he hasn't made it to the NHL. 2024, the top pick was Harrison Brunick, 2nd rounder. That pick was acquired in the Jake Gensel trade from the Hurricanes. The other 2nd round pick, just 2 slots later, was Tanner Howe. That was the Penguins' own pick. Those both look like very nice picks. Otherwise, here we go again. 4th rounder, 6th rounder, 2 7th rounders. And then, of course, the draft that was just carried out had 700 picks in all the various rounds, 3 first-rounders, all slotted between 11 and 24, a second rounder, 3 third rounders, a fourth rounder, 3 fifth rounders, a sixth rounder, and just for kicks, yes, of course, a seventh rounder as well. So the best answer I can give you here is the most boring answer available, which is they just didn't have the picks. They just flat out didn't have the picks. And you can go, I don't know why you cut off at 2020, but you can go before that as well. Go to the 2019 draft. Sam Poulin was your first round pick, 21st overall. After that, it was a third, a fifth, and 2 sevenths. Year before, no first rounder. Year before, no first rounder. Year before, no first rounder. I'm back to 2015 now, no first rounder. You have to go all the way back to 2014 and Kasperi Kapanen to finally connect that bridge. There's nothing else to be said on this. I wasn't crazy about the Poulin pick at the time. That's probably the one that jumps out here as far as a first rounder that might have let you down. That's from 6 years ago now. This is why you needed to do this thing that Kyle Dubas is doing, which is it can't just be about quality, it has to be about quantity too, because even highly promising prospects will fall flat on their figurative faces. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. We'll do another one of these tomorrow.